The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from hundreds of worlds. Minyu stood in the human section, his hands clasped behind his back. He wore a simple dark suit, nothing fancy. Around him, aliens of all shapes and sizes filled their seats. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen, others wore breathing masks. But they all shared one thing today: anger toward Earth. The speaker, a tall being with 4 arms and crystal-like skin, raised one hand. The room fell silent. "We gather today to vote on the human question," the speaker said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "For 20 years, humans have expanded into restricted zones. They have built colonies without permission. They have refused to follow our laws. Today, we decide their punishment." Minyu watched without expression. He had expected this. Earth had expected this. One by one, species stood to speak. A warrior race with gray skin and sharp teeth demanded immediate military action. The peaceful traders with multiple eyes spoke sadly about human betrayal. The shapeshifters who valued order above all called humans dangerous and unpredictable. Hours passed. Minyu listened to every word. He made notes on his tablet. Sometimes he smiled slightly, as if hearing a joke only he understood. Finally, the vote began. The display boards lit up across the chamber: green for peace, red for war. The board filled with red, more red than Minyu had ever seen in a council vote. When the counting finished, the numbers glowed bright. 843 species voted for war. Only 4 voted against. The speaker turned to face the human section. "The council has spoken. Humanity is hereby ordered to evacuate all colonies beyond the Sol system. You have 72 hours. After that, coalition forces will enter your space. Resistance will be crushed. Earth will be contained." Minyu stood. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. Some aliens expected him to beg. Others expected anger or fear. Instead, Minyu bowed slightly. "The message is received," he said calmly. "Earth will respond appropriately." That was all. No threats, no pleas, no emotion. Minyu sat back down. The aliens looked at each other, confused. This was not how condemned species usually acted. After the session ended, Minyu walked through the embassy halls. His assistant, a young woman named, rushed to catch up with him. "Sir, what do we do?" she asked. Her voice shook. "They declared war. They're going to attack Earth." "I know," Minyu said. He didn't look worried. "Shouldn't we be evacuating? Shouldn't we warn everyone?" Minyu stopped and turned to face her. For the first time, he smiled fully. "Earth has known this vote was coming for 3 months. Why do you think I've been so calm?" Stared at him. "You knew. How?" "Because we have people everywhere, in their governments, in their militaries, in their news agencies." Minyu started walking again. "Go pack your things. We leave tomorrow, but don't worry about Earth. Earth has been preparing for this day for a very long time." Far away on Earth, admirals stood in a command center deep underground. The room was filled with screens and officers working at terminals. Everyone moved with purpose, but no one looked panicked. "Admiral, the vote results are in," an officer reported. 843 to 4 as predicted. "Good," said. She was a woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a military uniform with more medals than most officers earned in a lifetime. "Send the alert. Protocol reckoning is now active." Across the solar system, messages went out. On Mars, in the asteroid belt, in hidden facilities around Jupiter and Saturn, people received the same order: prepare for war. In his office in New Seoul, read the message on his secure tablet. He was the director of strategic intelligence, though few people knew what that really meant. He looked older than his 60 years, with deep lines around his eyes from decades of carrying secrets. He pressed a button on his desk. "Connect me to all division heads." Moments later, faces appeared on his screen. Men and women from every corner of human space. "The galaxy has made its choice," said. "Now we show them ours. Activate all dormant assets. Declassify the Ghost Fleet. Begin Phase 1 of the revelation. Sir, one of the faces said, once we start, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we've built. They declared war, replied. They think we're weak. They think we're helpless. We've spent 80 years building, preparing, and waiting. Now they've given us the excuse we needed. Let them see what humanity does when threatened. The faces on the screen nodded. One by one, they disconnected to carry out their orders. Stood and walked to his window. He looked out at the city below. People walked the streets, unaware that war had just been declared. They would know soon enough, but they wouldn't panic. Earth had prepared them for this too. On the news networks across the galaxy, reporters talked excitedly about the upcoming war. They showed maps of human space. They discussed how quickly coalition fleets would crush the human defenses. They estimated Earth would surrender within a week. In the human colonies, people received evacuation orders, but the orders were strange. They didn't tell people to abandon their homes. They told them to go to specific shelters, to stay calm, to trust the plan. In the Earth Global Assembly, the Prime Minister gave a short speech. She spoke in a calm, measured tone. Today, the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender. They are wrong. For 80 years since we first encountered hostile species in this galaxy, we have prepared. We did not want war. We hoped diplomacy would be enough. But we prepared for the day when it wouldn't be. That day has come. I ask all citizens to remain calm, follow official instructions, trust in our forces, and know this: humanity will not be conquered. Not today, not ever. The speech was short. It didn't reveal details. It didn't need to. Across Earth, people watched and nodded. They had always wondered why so much money went to defense, why so many military facilities existed, why Earth kept building ships even during peacetime. Now they understood. On the alien, military leaders prepared their fleets. The war chief laughed as he reviewed the numbers. 12,000 warships against 300 human vessels. It would be a massacre. Humans are soft, he told his officers. They talk and trade, but they don't fight. This will be over before it begins. His officers agreed. Everyone agreed. The galaxy had made up its mind. Humans were weak. But in the dark spaces between stars, in the shadows of gas giants, in hidden facilities that didn't appear on any map, humanity's true strength waited. Ships that had never been seen. Weapons that had never been tested in combat. Technology that the galaxy didn't know existed. And as the coalition fleets began to mobilize, as alien warriors prepared for easy victory, a message went out across all human channels. It was short, just 3 words. The trap is set. Minyu read those words on his tablet and smiled. The galaxy had declared war. Earth had been waiting for them to make that mistake. Now, everything humanity had built in secret would be revealed. The galaxy expected a quick victory. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 24 hours after the declaration, the coalition fleets began moving. 12,000 warships, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, turned toward human space. The alien commanders expected to reach Earth within 3 days. They expected surrender within 4. On the colony world of Nova Sol, people watched the news feeds showing the approaching fleets. But instead of evacuating in panic, they walked calmly to designated shelters. Parents carried children. Elderly people helped each other. Everyone followed instructions they had practiced in drills for years. In orbit above the planet, what looked like simple mining stations began to change. Metal panels slid away, revealing weapon batteries. Communications arrays rotated to face deep space. Power cores that had always run at low levels suddenly surged to full capacity. Commander watched from the bridge of his ship, the Silent Observer. His vessel floated in deep space, far from any planet or star. On sensors, it looked like nothing, just empty void. That was exactly the point. The Silent Observer was a stealth ship, wrapped in technology that bent light and radiation around it. To the rest of the galaxy, it was invisible. "Status report," said to his crew. "All systems green," his tactical officer replied. "We've been tracking the Coalition advance fleet. They'll reach the Neptune waypoint in 36 hours. "Good, continue monitoring. Don't activate anything that might give away our position." Had been stationed here for 2 years, watching and waiting. His ship was one of hundreds like it, scattered throughout space, invisible and patient. Today, that patience would pay off. On Mars, Chief Engineer stood in a control room buried deep under the red sand. The room was massive, filled with equipment and screens. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at their stations. "Begin power-up sequence," she ordered. The lights in the room dimmed as enormous amounts of energy flowed into the facility. This place had always been listed as a terraforming research station. That was the lie. The truth was much more impressive. Beneath the Martian surface, weapons systems that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen came online, capable of throwing projectiles at a fraction of light speed, energy cannons that could melt asteroids, missile batteries holding thousands of quantum warheads. Mars wasn't just a colony, it was a fortress, and it was only one of many. In a university on Earth, historian Sora sat in the military archives, reading documents that had been classified for decades. 2 days ago, government agents had visited her. She had expected them to silence her research into Earth's hidden military spending. Instead, they had given her full access to everything. "We want you to document this," they had told her. "Someone needs to record the truth. Someone needs to write the story of what we built and why." Now surrounded by files and data, Sora understood. For 80 years, Earth had been lying to the galaxy, not about everything. They had been good neighbors, honest traders, and helpful allies. But about their military strength, they had lied completely. The public military budget showed 300 warships. The real number was different, much different. Sora pulled up a file marked Project Ghost Fleet. Her hands shook as she read. 50,000 warships, built in secret facilities in asteroid fields in the clouds of gas giants, even inside hollowed-out moons. Ships that had never appeared on any registry. Ships that the galaxy didn't know existed. Another file showed Project Guardian, 10,000 automated defense platforms hidden throughout human space. Each one had the firepower of a battleship. Each one had been disguised as satellites, space stations, or mining equipment. The costs were staggering, trillions of credits over 8 decades, resources diverted from public projects, entire facilities built in secret, thousands of people sworn to secrecy, living double lives. Why? Sora found the answer in the oldest files, from Earth's first contact with the galaxy. The early reports were hopeful. Humanity had finally met other intelligent species. They dreamed of peace, cooperation, and learning. But within 5 years, the tone changed. The galaxy was dangerous. Wars were common. Weak species were conquered or exterminated. The strong ruled, and strength came from military power. Earth's leaders had made a decision. They would smile and cooperate. They would join the galactic community. But they would also prepare. They would build strength in secret, and they would never, ever be caught weak again. Admiral reviewed the deployment maps in her command center. Red markers showed coalition fleets. Blue markers showed Earth's visible forces. Green markers showed Earth's hidden forces. The map was mostly green. "Status of the Ghost Fleet?" she asked. "All vessels reporting ready," an officer replied. "Crews are at battle stations. Stealth systems active, waiting for your orders." Nodded. She had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. 30 years planning, building, and training. She had watched as Earth played the role of cooperative junior member in the galactic community. She had smiled at alien admirals while knowing Earth could destroy their fleets. She had attended peace conferences while overseeing the construction of doomsday weapons. It had been exhausting, but necessary. Director appeared on one of the screens. "Admiral, we've confirmed coalition fleet movements. They're following exactly the path we predicted." "Good, they're arrogant. They think this will be easy." "It will be easy," said with a slight smile. "Just not for them. I've activated all intelligence assets. We have people in their command structures, their communications networks, their supply chains. We know their plans before their admirals do." "Any chance they'll reconsider?" "No, too much political pressure. The Council has committed to this war. They can't back down now without losing face." "Then we'll give them a reason to back down," said. "A very convincing reason." In the outer solar system near Neptune, preparations continued. Ships moved into position, still invisible to sensors. Weapon systems armed. Crews ran final checks. Everything had to be perfect. Captain of the dreadnought Dauntless stood on his bridge reviewing the battle plan. His ship was enormous, twice the size of any known vessel in the galaxy. It had been built in a hollowed-out asteroid, assembled in secret over 10 years. "Captain, all systems show green," his first officer reported. "We're ready." "Good. How long until the coalition scouts arrive?" 12 hours, sir." Looked at the tactical display. The coalition was sending 500 ships ahead of their main fleet, a standard scouting force. Those ships expected to find a handful of human defenders, maybe a few desperate warning shots. Instead, they would find 5,000 human warships waiting in ambush, ships they didn't know existed, weapons they had never seen, technology they couldn't match. It would be over in minutes. Back on Earth, people went about their daily lives with strange calmness. The news reported the approaching alien fleets. Emergency instructions played on all channels, but there was no panic, no riots, no chaos. Humanity had been preparing for this psychologically too. For decades, movies and shows had depicted alien invasions. Schools had taught history lessons about Earth's own wars. Citizens had trained in emergency drills. Everyone knew the plan. Trust the military, follow instructions, stay calm. And perhaps most importantly, believe in Earth's strength. Because even though the details were classified, even though most people didn't know about the ghost fleet or the hidden weapons, they knew something. They knew Earth spent enormous amounts on defense. They knew their government had been preparing. They knew that when the Prime Minister said, "Humanity will not be conquered," she meant it. So they waited, and they trusted. In her office, Sora finished reading the files. She sat back, overwhelmed by what she had learned. Earth had built an arsenal capable of fighting the entire galaxy, not to conquer, not to attack, but to ensure that no one could ever threaten humanity again. It was the most expensive, most elaborate, most secret project in human history, and in 12 hours the galaxy would learn it existed. She opened a new document and began to write. Someone needed to record this moment. Someone needed to explain why Earth had built all this, why they had lied, why they had prepared. The title came to her immediately. The Long Preparation, How Humanity Armed Itself for the Day the Galaxy Turned Against Us. Outside her window, the sun was setting. In 12 hours, it would rise on a new galaxy, one where humanity was no longer the weak newcomer, one where Earth's strength was finally revealed. The countdown continued, the trap was set, the galaxy was coming. And Earth was ready. The Coalition scout fleet arrived at the Neptune waypoint exactly on schedule. 500 warships, representing 20 different species, dropped out of faster-than-light travel together. Admiral of the Imperium commanded the vanguard from his flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. "Scan for human forces," he ordered. His sensors officer worked the controls, then looked up in confusion. "Sir, I'm detecting almost nothing, just one ship and it appears damaged." leaned forward in his command chair. One ship, that's their defense. It's broadcasting a distress signal, sir. Hull breaches, power failing. Looks like it was caught in an asteroid collision. The Admiral laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. So much for human resistance. Move in and capture that vessel. I want prisoners for interrogation. The Coalition fleet advanced. The damaged human ship drifted helplessly near Neptune, venting atmosphere. It looked like an easy prize. On the bridge of that ship, the crew smiled. Their vessel wasn't damaged at all. The distress signal was fake. The atmosphere venting was just vapor they were releasing on purpose, and they weren't alone. Commander watched from the silent observer, still invisible in the darkness of space. His sensors showed the Coalition fleet moving into the kill zone. Perfect. All ships, this is, hold position, hold stealth, wait for the Admiral's signal. Around him, in the empty void, 5,000 warships waited. They had been there for hours, completely invisible. Their stealth systems bent every form of radiation around them. To sensors, to eyes, to any form of detection, they simply didn't exist. Until Admiral wanted them to. On Earth, in the command center, watched the tactical display. The Coalition ships had surrounded the bait vessel. They were in position. All ships, she said calmly into her communicator, deactivate stealth, show them what they walked into. In space, 5,000 ships appeared at once. One moment there was nothing. The next moment the Coalition fleet was surrounded by human warships. Not 300, 5,000. On bridge, every alarm started screaming at once. Contact, multiple contacts, thousands of them. His sensor officer shouted. Sir, they're everywhere. Where did they come from? Stared at the display in shock. His 500 ships were surrounded by a force 10 times larger. Ships that hadn't been there seconds ago. Ships that shouldn't exist. How? He whispered. We destroyed their construction yards. We monitored their shipbuilding. They only had 300 vessels. Then every screen on his bridge lit up with the same image. A woman in a human military uniform. Admiral. Welcome to the Sol system, she said. Her voice was calm, almost friendly. You came here to conquer Earth. You believed we were weak because we seemed peaceful. You thought cooperation meant cowardice. You made a mistake. Found his voice. This is impossible. You can't have built this many ships without us knowing. We built them over 80 years, replied. In places you never looked. Hidden in asteroid fields, in gas giant storms, in the coronas of stars. We built them while smiling at your councils, while trading at your markets, while attending your peace conferences. We learned from you, Admiral. We learned that the galaxy respects only strength. So we built strength. And we hid it until you gave us a reason to reveal it. She paused, then continued. Every mining station you ignored was a weapons platform. Every research vessel was a warship. Every terraforming facility was a fortress. You saw what we wanted you to see. Now you see the truth. His tactical officer spoke urgently. Sir, they're targeting us, all of them. Raise shields, prepare weapons, ordered. All ships attack formation. Too late, said on the screen. Then she gave a single command, fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. Human-launched projectiles at impossible speeds. Energy beams cut through Coalition shields like they weren't there. Quantum torpedoes exploded, tearing apart ship hulls at the molecular level. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Coalition ships tried to return fire, but human shields absorbed everything. They tried to run, but human ships were faster. They tried to coordinate, but human jamming cut their communications. The Dauntless, Captain's massive dreadnought, demonstrated the full power of Earth's weapons. A single shot from its main cannon punched through 3 Coalition ships in a line. The energy released was so intense it lit up Neptune's atmosphere. On the silent observer's tactical officer tracked the engagement. Enemy ships breaking formation, some trying to flee. Let 20 of them go, ordered. The others disable but don't destroy if possible. His crew executed perfectly. Precision shots took out engines and weapons, leaving ships drifting but intact. The crews would survive. They would tell others what happened here. 20 coalition ships managed to activate their faster-than-light drives and escape. 480 remained, either disabled or destroyed. In his crippled flagship stared at the wreckage of his fleet. His ship was powerless, drifting. Around him, the remains of 500 warships floated in the dark, and surrounding it all, the human fleet waited. His face appeared on his screen again. "Your fleet is defeated, Admiral. Your crews will be treated according to galactic conventions for prisoners of war. We're not monsters. We don't kill unnecessarily. But understand this. You attacked us with 500 ships. We destroyed them in 4 minutes. This was just our greeting." "What are you?" whispered. "We're humans," replied. "You thought we were weak. You were wrong. Now those 20 ships we let escape will tell the galaxy what happened here. They'll describe our weapons, our numbers, our strength. And your coalition will face a choice: retreat or discover that what you saw today was only a small part of what we've built." The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, in the coalition command centers, the escaped ships delivered their reports. Military leaders listened in growing horror as their captains described the ambush. 5,000 human ships appearing from nowhere, weapons that punched through shields with ease, technology beyond anything they had encountered. The news networks picked up the story within hours. Reporters who had been confidently predicting human surrender now spoke in shocked tones about the battle. The mood shifted from triumph to fear. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency meetings convened. Representatives who had voted for war now questioned their decision. The smaller species, who had joined the coalition out of peer pressure, began withdrawing their support. On Earth, Sora watched the news coverage and continued writing. The Battle of Neptune would be remembered as the moment everything changed. The moment humanity revealed it had been preparing all along. In the command center, reviewed intelligence reports. The coalition is in chaos. Some species want to negotiate, others want to escalate. They are demanding total war. "Let them demand," said. "We've shown them a fraction of our strength. If they want to see more, we'll accommodate them." Director brought up a star map. Green markers now appeared across dozens of systems, far beyond human space. "Our ships have reached their positions near major coalition, not to attack but to be seen, to demonstrate reach." Nodded. "The message is simple. If we can get there unseen, we can get there armed. Every species that voted for war now knows we could strike there, but we haven't. We're giving them a chance to reconsider." "Some will," said, "some won't." Then we continue the plan. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. We show them even more, not to terrorize but to make them understand that this war cannot be won, not by them. On the remaining coalition ships at Neptune, human boarding parties arrived. They treated the alien prisoners with respect, providing medical care and food. The aliens, expecting brutality, were confused by the kindness. A young warrior, wounded and captured, asked his human guard, "Why didn't you kill us?" The guard, a woman named, shrugged. "Because you're defeated. There's no honor in killing defeated enemies. We're not barbarians, despite what you might think. But we came to conquer your world." "Yes," said, "and we stopped you. That's enough. We don't need revenge. We just need you to understand that you can't win this war." The warrior looked around at his fellow prisoners, all receiving medical care from humans. He thought about his admiral's confident predictions of easy victory. He thought about how quickly their fleet had been destroyed. "We made a mistake," he said quietly. "Yes," agreed. "You did. The question now is whether your leaders learn from it." In the darkness of space, the human fleet maintained its position. Lights from the disabled coalition ships reflected off their hulls. They had revealed themselves. They had shown their strength. Now they waited to see what the galaxy would do next. The trap had worked perfectly, Earth had been ready, and the war had just begun. News of the Neptune disaster spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 500 warships destroyed in 4 minutes. The images from the escaped vessels showed the truth. Humanity had built an enormous secret military. The species that everyone thought was weak had been preparing for war all along. In the coalition headquarters on Prime, military commanders argued loudly. Some wanted immediate retreat. Others demanded escalation. The War Council, humiliated by the loss of their admiral's fleet, pushed hardest for continued warfare. "We cannot show weakness," War Chief roared. He slammed his fist on the table. "We outnumber them 12 to 1. Even with their hidden ships, we still have numerical superiority." A representative, her multiple eyes blinking nervously, disagreed. "They destroyed our vanguard with ease. What makes you think the main fleet will fare better?" "Because we won't underestimate them again," said. "We mobilize everything, total war." On Earth, in her underground office, reviewed psychological profiles of coalition leaders. But her specialty was understanding how aliens thought, how they made decisions, what scared them. For 20 years, she had studied coalition species, preparing for this exact scenario. "They will push for escalation," she told Director in a video conference. "Their culture values honor over wisdom. They can't accept defeat without trying to avenge it." "And the others?" asked. "The smaller species are already wavering. They joined the coalition out of fear and peer pressure, not conviction. If we can show them that we're reasonable, that we're not interested in conquest, many will withdraw." "What do you recommend?" Pulled up a document on her screen. "We target their psychology, not their ships. We show them 3 things: our strength, our restraint, and our reach. Make them understand that we could destroy them, but we choose not to. Make them afraid of what we might do, but also grateful that we haven't done it." Nodded slowly. "Psychological warfare. The most effective kind. Wars are won in the mind before they're won in space." Within hours, Earth launched Phase 2 of its plan. Human ships began appearing near major coalition, not attacking, just appearing. They would drop out of faster-than-light travel, stay for exactly 10 minutes, broadcast a simple message, then leave. The message was the same everywhere: "We can reach you. We choose not to harm you. Choose peace." On the citizens watched in terror as 3 massive human dreadnoughts appeared in orbit. The ships were enormous, their weapons clearly visible. For 10 minutes, the entire planet held its breath, expecting destruction. Instead, the ships broadcast their message and left. The government held emergency meetings. "They could have bombed us," the Prime Minister said. "They could have destroyed our orbital stations, but they didn't. Why?" "Because they want us to know they could have," a military advisor replied. "This is a demonstration of power and restraint." Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. Human ships appeared, delivered their message, and departed. Some worlds panicked. Others were impressed. All understood the implication: Earth could strike anywhere, anytime. Commander, embedded deep within the command structure, sent regular intelligence reports back to Earth. He had been working as a communications specialist for 5 years, slowly gaining trust. Now that trust paid dividends. "They are planning a major offensive," his encrypted message read. "They're mobilizing their entire fleet plus whatever they can force from allied species. Target, Earth itself. Timeline, 3 days. They're banking everything on overwhelming force." Read the report and smiled. "They're predictable, called this perfectly." Admiral began repositioning forces, not to defend Earth, though defenses were already formidable. No, she was preparing something more ambitious, something that would break coalition resolve entirely. On Earth's news networks, instead of showing panic or patriotic fervor, broadcasters showed something unexpected: daily life continuing normally. People going to work, children playing in parks, markets operating as usual. The message was clear: Earth was not afraid. But behind the scenes, final preparations were being made. The full extent of humanity's arsenal was about to be revealed. Had recommended a specific strategy: overwhelm them with information. Show them not just that Earth was strong, but how strong. Make them understand the futility of continued warfare. So Earth began broadcasting, not propaganda but facts. Detailed information about human military capabilities sent to every news network in the galaxy. The Ghost Fleet, 50,000 warships built in secret over 80 years. The Guardian Network, 10,000 automated defense platforms, each with battleship-grade weapons. The Deterrent, quantum torpedoes capable of striking any point in the galaxy within minutes, already targeted at every coalition. The broadcasts included images, specifications, and deployment locations, everything except the most classified technologies. Earth was showing its cards, demonstrating that victory against humanity was impossible. The effect was immediate and devastating to coalition morale. Military leaders who had been confident now faced the reality of the numbers. They didn't have numerical superiority. They had been outnumbered all along. In the coalition command center, stared at the broadcasts in disbelief. This is impossible. No one could have built this much without us knowing. But they did, a defeated-looking admiral replied. While we monitored their public shipyards, they built in secret. While we counted their visible fleet, they hid 10 times more. We were blind. Species began withdrawing from the coalition. First the smaller ones, then the mid-sized powers. Within 2 days, the 843 species that had voted for war dwindled to less than 400. The fractures were spreading. On the human colony worlds, what looked like civilian facilities completed their transformations. Mining stations revealed themselves as weapons platforms. Research vessels shed their disguises to become warships. Every settlement, every outpost, every installation had a secondary military purpose. The galaxy had thought human space was lightly defended. The truth was that human space was a fortress. Every approach was covered. Every colony was armed. Every inch of territory was prepared for defense. Psychological strategy was working. Species that had been eager for war now questioned the cost. What would they gain? Even if they won, which now seemed impossible, they would lose millions of lives. And for what? To punish humans for expanding. Was it worth it? The answer for most species was no. Director received reports from intelligence assets across the galaxy. Human operatives, many of whom had worked for decades building cover identities, now activated. They didn't sabotage or attack. They simply talked to alien governments, explaining Earth's position. We don't want war, they said. We never wanted war, we wanted to live peacefully. But we learned that the galaxy respects only strength, so we built strength. Now we're using that strength to defend ourselves. That's all. Join us in peace or continue this pointless war. The choice is yours. Many chose peace. On Prime, the Galactic Council convened another emergency session. The chamber that had been united in declaring war was now divided and chaotic. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded negotiation. Others insisted on continued warfare. The unity that had existed just days ago had crumbled. And a handful of other warrior species still pushed for total war, but they were increasingly isolated. Even their closest allies were reconsidering. Admiral watched the council proceedings from Earth and allowed herself a small smile. They're breaking, just as predicted. They won't give up easily, warned. They'll try one more offensive, their pride demands it. Let them try, said. We'll be ready. And when we defeat them decisively, the war will end. Not because we conquered them, but because they'll finally understand they cannot win. In space, human ships continued their demonstrations of reach and restraint. Appearing, broadcasting, departing. Always the same message: we could destroy you, but we choose peace. The psychological impact was enormous. The coalition had declared war expecting easy victory. Instead, they faced an enemy that was stronger, better prepared, and more sophisticated than they had imagined. An enemy that demonstrated both overwhelming military power and surprising restraint. It was, as had designed it to be, terrifying and reassuring at the same time. Terrifying because humans could destroy any coalition world. Reassuring because they clearly didn't want to. The cascade was in motion, species withdrawing, alliances fracturing, confidence crumbling. The coalition that had been so united in declaring war was falling apart. And in 3 days, the final offensive would arrive at Earth. The last desperate attempt to win a war that was already lost. The coalition's last chance to prove they could defeat humanity. Earth was preparing to show them, definitively, that they could not. The psychological warfare was working. Now came the final battle, the one that would end the war for good. The final offensive arrived at the edge of human space exactly when intelligence predicted. 8,000 warships, the largest force the Imperium had ever assembled. War Chief commanded from his personal flagship, determined to restore his species' honor. "Today we crush the humans," he announced to his fleet. "They may have defeated our vanguard with tricks and surprises, but we are prepared now. We know their strength. We match it with greater numbers and superior courage, for the glory of the Imperium." His warriors cheered. They believed in him. They believed in victory. On Earth, Admiral watched the approaching fleet on her tactical displays. She stood in the same command center she had occupied for days, calm and ready. Around her, officers worked efficiently. No one looked worried. "Status of all defensive forces?" she asked. "Guardian platforms online and targeted. Ghost fleet in position. All colony defenses active. Earth orbital weapons fully charged," an officer reported. "We're ready, Admiral." Nodded, she pressed a button on her console, opening a channel to Director. "They're here," she said simply. "Proceed with Protocol Omega," replied. "Show them everything." Protocol Omega, the full revelation of Earth's military might. Not just what they had shown so far, which was already impressive. Everything. Every weapon system, every ship, every secret technology. The complete arsenal that humanity had built over 8 decades. It was time to end this war decisively. As the fleet advanced toward Earth, space around them began to fill with contacts. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Human ships appeared from every direction. Not 5,000 this time, 50,000. The entire Ghost fleet, simultaneously. On's bridge, the sensor displays went crazy. An officer turned to him, his face pale. "Sir, we're detecting massive fleet contacts. 49,732 vessels. We're outnumbered 6 to 1. His confidence wavered. "That's impossible. They can't have that many ships." But they did. And as if to emphasize the point, Earth activated the Guardian network. 10,000 weapons platforms that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure lit up. Each one powered weapons that glowed bright enough to see across the solar system. Mars revealed its true nature as a fortress world. Massive gun batteries emerged from beneath the red sand, their targeting systems locking onto the fleet. Saturn's rings began moving, not with natural orbital mechanics but with purpose. Hidden facilities in the rings activated, launching thousands of fighter craft. Even Earth's moon opened sections of its surface, revealing missile silos and energy cannons built into the lunar crust. The moon that humanity had walked on centuries ago was now a defensive installation. Jupiter served as a base for human dreadnoughts twice, the size of anything the galaxy had seen. They emerged from the gas giant's atmosphere like ancient gods rising from the deep. The fleet found itself surrounded by more firepower than existed in the entire coalition. They had come to conquer Earth. Instead, they had flown into the most heavily defended location in galactic history. Stared at the displays, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. This wasn't just superior numbers. This was overwhelming superiority. This was impossible odds. Then every screen in his ship showed Admiral's face. "War Chief," she said, "you came here to destroy Earth. You believed that determination and courage could overcome our advantages. You were wrong. Not about courage. You and your warriors have courage, but courage alone cannot win against impossible odds." She gestured, and images appeared on the screens. The full layout of human defenses, the complete roster of the Ghost Fleet, technical specifications of weapons the galaxy had never seen. "We built this over 80 years, continued. Not because we wanted to conquer anyone, because we wanted to ensure that no one could conquer us. Every credit we spent, every ship we built, every weapon we developed had one purpose: to make certain that humanity would never be victims again." Found his voice. "You lied to us, you pretended to be weak." "We were honest about everything except our military strength," replied. "We traded fairly. We honored our treaties. We contributed to galactic society. We were good neighbors, but we remembered that the galaxy declared war on us the moment we seemed vulnerable, so we made sure we would never be vulnerable again." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "You have two choices, War Chief. Order your fleet to attack and we will destroy every ship you command. Your warriors will die brave deaths, but they will die. Or you surrender, we treat you with honor and this war ends, not with the destruction of your species, but with a new understanding between us." Looked around his bridge. His officers waited for orders. His warriors were ready to fight, but fighting would be suicide. They were outnumbered and surrounded. Even his pride couldn't overcome such reality. "If we surrender," he said slowly, "what happens to the Imperium?" "Nothing," said. "We're not interested in conquest. We don't want to rule your worlds or destroy your culture. We just want to be left alone to live in peace. Surrender ends the war, that's all." Minutes passed, wrestled with his decision. Finally, he spoke the hardest words of his life. "The fleet surrenders. We will power down weapons and await your instructions." Across the fleet ships, weapons went offline. Shields dropped. The great offensive ended without a shot fired. On Earth, people watching the live feeds cheered. Not because of victory in battle, but because the war was ending without more bloodshed. Humanity had won through overwhelming force, but also through restraint. The Galactic Council convened one final time. The mood was very different from the session that had declared war. Representatives spoke quietly, soberly. Many looked ashamed. Director addressed the council via hologram. He stood in his office on Earth, his expression neutral. "The war is over," he began. "Not because we destroyed your fleets, though we could have. Not because we bombarded your worlds, though we had the ability. The war is over because you now understand what we tried to tell you peacefully. Humanity will not be conquered. We proved that not through words but through demonstration." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The galaxy declared war on us. We responded by revealing what we had built in secret. Some call that deception. We call it preparation. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength, so we built strength. Now we use that strength to secure peace." The Prime Minister spoke up. "What are your terms for peace?" "Fair terms," replied. "Earth will have a permanent seat on this council with veto power. Our military strength will be recognized officially. We will share some defensive technologies to help smaller species protect themselves. In return, all species agree to a mutual defense pact that prevents aggressive wars. The strong will no longer prey on the weak." There was silence. Then one by one representatives voted to accept. Even the ambassador, humbled by defeat, agreed. The treaty was signed within a week. Earth joined the Galactic Council as a major power. Human ships began joint patrols with former enemies. The technologies Earth had demonstrated became the foundation for improved defenses across the galaxy. 6 months later, Minyu returned to his post as Earth's chief ambassador. The embassy that he had evacuated in fear of war now bustled with activity. Diplomats from hundreds of worlds came to negotiate with humanity, some seeking trade deals, others requesting military aid, all treating Earth with new respect. Sora published her book, The Long Preparation, to enormous acclaim. It became required reading in schools across the galaxy, a case study in strategic planning and the importance of preparation. Admiral oversaw the downsizing of Earth's military from full war footing to peacetime operations, but the Ghost Fleet remained. The Guardian Network stayed active. Earth would never again be caught unprepared. In a small ceremony, Director received the highest civilian honor Earth could grant. He stood before the Prime Minister, accepting a medal for his decades of secret work. "You kept humanity safe," the Prime Minister said. "You prepared us for the day we hoped would never come, and when it came, we were ready." Smiled slightly. "We didn't smile because we wanted war," he said. "We smiled because we knew that if war came, we would be ready, and that readiness prevented the war from becoming the disaster it could have been. We didn't just win the war, we won the peace that followed." On worlds across the galaxy, the story of Earth's preparation became legend. The species that had been underestimated, that had seemed peaceful and cooperative, had proven to be the most formidable power in the galaxy. Not through aggression, but through wisdom. Not through conquest, but through deterrence. The galaxy had declared war expecting easy victory. Earth had smiled, knowing victory was impossible for their enemies. That smile hadn't been arrogance. It had been confidence earned through decades of preparation, planning, and resolve. The war had lasted less than a week. The peace it created would last for generations, because the galaxy now understood what humanity had known all along. The best way to win a war is to be so prepared that your enemies never dare start one. And if they do start it anyway, you end it so decisively that no one ever makes that mistake again. Earth had been ready, the galaxy had learned, and humanity could finally live in the peace they had always wanted, secured by the strength they had always possessed.